How's it on?
Yep.
Oh, it's on. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talks with Jody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Hit that notification bell to stay updated with the latest content. Let's go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Talking Fit with Gideon.
Back again.
Gideon, welcome, sir. Just a recap. On our previous episode, we spoke about the 3 pillars of training.
Yes.
It was the training program or routine, the nutrition, and rest / recovery. So today. And sleep.
Sleep important.
Most important.
That.
Oh no, I definitely won't forget that. I think today what I want to dive into is sort of periodization. We've mentioned it. You've just touched on it on previous episodes. So I think let's focus on that. Let's revolve this chat around periodization. So let's start. What is periodization?
Yeah. So periodization is like a plan in which you. Let's take a training program, for example. You want to periodize a training program in a way that, so periodization actually means like how you step load or how you design the different loads and intensities and volumes, everything that's within the program or within an actual exercise routine, how you going to adapt that over time. Okay. So there's things like, I won't get into like the mesos and the macro cycles because those all work in different weeks and stages.
Okay.
But just diving into how you can look at periodizing or planning, because what you want is you want to progressively overload your movements and your exercises and stuff. So that can be through weight, or it can be through the reps and sets. So the rest times, it can be progressive overload can happen through a whole array of things. It's not just the weight on the bar.
Okay.
As the Australian strength coach just says, like progressive overload is never just how many plates you put on the bar. It's like if you squat 10 reps on Monday the first week, you can squat 11 reps on the second week, and that counts as progressive overload, right? Yes. So that leads back into periodization. It's like you want to make sure that you have the program gets progressively more difficult, or you progressing in the reps and sets and whatnot. But the biggest thing for periodization is to focus on what the goal is for that set program. Let's say, let's take a 6 to 8 week program.
Yes.
I want to, increase my squat. Like we always in previous episode, we're using the squats, right?
Yes.
So if I want to increase my strength on the squat, how am I going to adapt it over the 6 or 8 week period that I'm doing this program? So if I'm squatting twice a week, I have one high volume, one low volume day. And what that means is if I'm doing, 3 to 5 reps on the first day I squat, and then, 10 to 12 reps on the second day I squat. Very basic.
Okay.
But what happens is for the first 4 weeks, what you can do is you can build on those 2 squat movements as you go. So on the strength day, or the day that you're doing lower reps, the lower volume, that could be the day that we could work on some weight. So you can add, something like 1% or 0.5% onto your 1 rep max. So if you're doing 80% in week 1, in week 2 you want to be doing 82%, or 81% or 82.5%.
But that sort of percentage increase.
So that's so you've added more weight on the bar, so it's getting progressively heavier as the time passes on. That when you hit that this is traditionally, as you hit that 4th week, that's normally when you want to transition into like a deload week. So you've created this incline like this, and you've now hit the top of that 4 week. You're now pushing, you started week 1 with 80%, and now you're at maybe 87.5% of your 1 rep max.
6 to 8.
Yeah, and to put that like into numbers for the viewers, is that like if you start on 100, by week 4 you're on like 110. So that's a significant amount more weight over time by that 4th week. in the 5th week, you want to deload, and then you drop back down to that original weight of 100 kilos, and then you do that 5th week. And then what happens is in the 6th week, you go back, but instead you start at 82%. So you start at the beginning, but at slightly higher than baseline. So the baseline in week 1 was 80.
Was 80, yes.
But in week 6, it's 82. And then by the time you get to week 8, you're like now at 90%.
Yes.
Where at week 4, you're at 87%.
So everything basically shifts up.
Shifts up. But it needs to be like step loaded. So you need to have that 1 week where you can deload properly, allow your body to fully recover. So you still want to be training. You don't want to stop training for an entire week, but you want to reduce the load or the intensity completely.
So deloading, you would say deloading is part of periodization?
Yes, 100%. I mean, from my personal capacity and the way I program, deloading is a very important aspect, because think about it, you constantly creating more effort, eventually becomes a diminishing return. So eventually your effort is so high that you're not gonna be able to break that ceiling, and that's where injury occurs.
Yes.
That's the same thing. What happened with you when you started, like when you just wanted to push the numbers, you don't on a structured plan, you're gonna hit that ceiling, and then you're gonna want to push above it, and then that's when you get injured, and you want to avoid that completely. But as an advanced lifter, it becomes more tricky playing around with deload. It's not as simple as doing 1 to 4 deload, 1 to 4 deload, 1 to 4 deload. Some programs run for 2 months, some programs run for only 4 weeks, and other programs run for an entire year.
Yes.
So it all depends on where your level's at. But periodization is always important. Like, you always want to implement the progressive overload, because otherwise you're just going to stay at exactly the same level. If I'm doing
it's frustrating.
If I'm doing exactly the same weight and exactly the same number of reps and sets and resting exactly the same amount of time, you're not going to go anywhere.
Of course.
Exactly. And that goes to that goes to show when people hit plateaus. You know that their periodization isn't up to par.
Yes.
Even if it's just increasing, like if it's just as simple as adding an extra bench day to increase your pressing ability.
Yes.
As simple as that. So that's kind of the breakdown on periodization.
So coming back to what you said earlier, where you mentioned, yes, I'm an example of that. Where last year, roughly mid last year, I was doing that. What you said, I was busy with progress overload. Everything was going up, but to the point where I was training about 6 times a week, and then lo and behold, my mentor reminded me, "Are you resting? Because resting is part of recovery."
And then the next week,
my head was swelling because my numbers were moving, and it was incredible. I had this great feeling. It's like, I'm not going to stop going. I'm training 6 times a week. My numbers are just skyrocketing every week. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to keep this pace. Then lo and behold, I got humbled, because he kept reminding me, kept telling me what I needed to hear, but I kept listening to what I wanted to hear. And then what happened was, boom, injury. Was the hip flexor / just everything.
that whole hip there,
the whole hip area
mangled.
It was, yes, and it all came down to just fatigue. I was just overload, not allowing recovery. No deload. Very important what you mentioned. No deload, no resting. So what happened was, I had to start all the way at the bottom. So I went for sports massages. I went for therapy sessions, rehab sessions with, lo and behold, my mentor. Before you were with Horizon, but from what I see now with Horizon, shout out to Horizon Gym. I'm impressed with what, the progression from where he's been to where he's at right now. So I know personally, if I'm going for rehab again, I know where to go. I know Gideon won't hesitate to take me on, because I am a client of his, from the past. So, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. I mean, if you do, you continue with it. Don't allow that to mentally sort of affect you. But my point is, things like that can be avoided if you do listen. So ever since I got my strength back up, what I did was, like Gideon mentioned, started deloading. I started taking more days off. So the 6-day training got reduced to about 4, maybe 5, depending on the load. So I started training less because less is more. So yes, I started taking your advice even more. But coming back to periodization, I think deload for me is very important, and I think that's where people don't understand. I feel like people don't understand deload enough, and it's especially the people who hit plateaus.
So that's the deload is definitely for your more advanced lifter, right?
It is,
because you can get away as being a beginner and not having to deload. It's fine. Like you want to be under as much stimulus as possible, with keeping within your own parameters of what your program says, right? You don't want to 1 week be doing 12 reps on the bench, and then next week you're doing like 8 reps for double the weight, because that's how you're going to get injured, right?
Yes.
But deloads are very important for if you are constantly exerting high amounts of effort for extended periods of time. It allows your body to almost reset and get ready for the next cycle of that.
So then, like you said deload is for sort of your advanced lifters, but now for beginner lifters, what sort of approach do they?
As I say, sorry to cut you off. It's not black and white. So it's never like, oh, I do 4 weeks, then I need to take a week off. A deload could be literally as simple as taking
50% of your weight.
Yeah, like two of your workouts, and adjusting them completely, allowing you to just go through the motions and recover. Keep the exact same workout, but drop the intensity and the volume tremendously.
Okay.
If that's something that your body is needing, that intuition comes in with experience, but one will know.
And then it was that's fair. Like another question within this, and let me know your thoughts and if you have answers to it. And I'm sure people have come to you about it. Is when I've also mentioned deload to people. I don't know if you've gotten this question, but for me it's very difficult to answer. But because it's a discipline, and like you said, it's for advanced lifters, but for beginner lifters who, for example, you tell them to deload next week and they take, let's say, 50% of their max and they just start moving, and then they have that mindset of, but I can do double this. What is the mindset, or what advice do you have for those sort of lifters where they need to actually discipline themselves to not go ahead with?
It works both ways. If you have the discipline to move heavy weight, you have to have the discipline to back off.
Yes.
You have to know how to back off. You can't run at 100%
all
the time.
Which some of us have tried.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
And sometimes the worst ways to learn that is to get injured.
The hard way.
And you'll never repeat it again, I'll tell you that much.
I mean...
And you'll know, exactly. I've been injured a few times, so
yes.
I know. When you're just pushing at that ceiling, constantly punching, you're knocking on that door, it's bound to happen.
Yes.
So you have to humble yourself and it's only 1 week. You're never going to deload for multiple weeks. But at most you'll take a deload and maybe a couple rest days we don't train at all. But you're going to be back on.
Of course.
It's a short-term thing, but people don't see it like that.
But do you think people get trapped in their own thoughts where they feel like, I won't have the same feeling next week. I won't feel like I can do double my weight today like I did next week.
It's a subconscious thing.
It is, yeah.
For sure.
So how do you deal with it in terms of, let's say, beginner, advanced lifters? We already know. We know what to do. We know how to handle it. But for a beginner, how does one?
I think for the beginners, I think the easiest way to go about it is just to almost trust the process in the first time. So do it once, try the deload once and see the benefits. Just trust it once. Even if you're feeling if you're in your own head, next week I'm not going to be able to form because I didn't lift heavy enough, or I didn't lift as much as I wanted to. Do it for 1 week. See how good you feel in that following week after taking that deload week.
Okay. So
and then tell me.
So always try something once.
Tried once.
Because I think if you, like you said, if you repeat it and it gets to your head, then eventually your body's going to tell you, this is enough.
You have to experience it one way or another.
Of course.
Exactly.
Now I want to jump back again to deload/periodization, because one of the biggest things, and we mentioned probably in as a recap of the last episode, was plateau. It's something that a lot of the young lifters, and they do come to me as well, and I'm sure a lot of them come to you in the gym, and it's such a, it affects him psychologically, you know. And then what I do is I try to hear them out and try to see, okay, so for the first 4 weeks, or maybe for that week, what was your numbers? What do you do? What is your weight? What is your rep range? And it's funny, most of the guys that, from my side, I don't know what your experience is, but like from my side, the guys who hit plateau, who are so affected by it and almost like they want to stop training, what I pick up, what they do is they don't actually drop their weight completely. And when I say this, I mean, I'll just use the common exercise, for example, the deadlift. I know of guys who will deadlift 180 on Monday, then come Wednesday or Thursday and deadlift 190.
Yeah.
So a whole 10 kgs, but
that's just a clear indication for A, not on a good program, and
yes.
B, actually 3, not on a good program, not periodized properly, and just don't really have a clue. Like, just genuinely just like don't have any like understanding of how the loading works. Okay, so these are the guys, you can easily see it, that don't really know how to structure their training program.
Okay.
They feel like on their one day, okay, I'm going to squat today, boom, I do 120 kilos. Okay, I'm going to squat again on Friday, but I do 150. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
So besides that not knowing, or what was the other one before you mentioned incorrect program? There was another one that you mentioned.
Incorrect program, periodization?
Periodization. So let's jump into incorrect program, because I know influence is very important. So I always hear guys tell me, and I mean, it's no disrespect, because like you need to try everything. I still believe in that. But I always hear the common guys saying like, no, they follow this guy, they follow that bodybuilder and stuff like that. And I ask myself, okay, it's fine, follow them, but don't be consistent with them. And then when you hit a plateau, you don't know what to do. What is your thoughts on that?
The thing is, I have a very scientific approach to training and nutrition,
which has worked for me, because you are the reason why I follow things scientifically.
So I follow, what does the research say? What does the research say? So there are hundreds, thousands, if not millions of influencers out there telling you, okay, this program, try these exercises, try this HIIT workout, lose 10 kilos in a week or whatever. So like there's always this noise coming in from 1,000 different directions, and you have to know how to sieve it out. And it only comes with, educating yourself, self-taught, educating yourself on what's right, what's wrong, and then just being in the motions, going through, learning what works for you, seeing what works for others, things like that, and just dealing with that background noise.
So do you think people are too dependent on, okay, I'm sorry to name drop, but like, say CBUM, this is his program,
right?
They're too dependent on that program, instead of maybe, let me take that from CBUM, that from, I'm just using random names. Do you think that is better, sort of self-taught, by just absorbing from all the different noise, instead of just focusing on that noise and being like, okay, let me do this because this is what worked for that specific person? What is your take?
I always use Jeff, because he's like,
Jeff Nippert?
Yeah,
I like Jeff.
Jeff has always been been such a good influence to me over the years.
Yes.
He's very much a scientific approach to training, nutrition. Very much. I see him as a role model, right? Honestly.
No, that's good. That's good.
He's someone I really looked up to, and someone I follow closely. His content is very informative.
Yes.
And he says, like, has these conversations about, there's a lot out there, and how do you know what's right, what's wrong? And going back to your CBUM that reference, is that people see Chris Bumstead and they're like, oh my word, this guy is like Mr. Olympia.
Yes.
He's won, and he's
amazing
now.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's an amazing guy, and he's knowledgeable. It's like,
it is.
He does know, but some things aren't meant to be black and white. They aren't meant to be, this is CBUM's program, I'm going to do it. I'm going to, maybe you think I'm not going to look like him, but like, if it worked for him, it can work for me. But
it's a yes and no.
It's a yes and no. It's a yes and no. It's trying to follow and figure out which influencers or role models you want to look up to, or influence in the social media environment.
100%.
You wanna pick the people that you feel impact you the most positively.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing.
And I like that you mentioned Jeff, because Jeff also, back then when you also mentioned me, I mean, I remember, what's a Technique Tuesday? I don't know if that still exists.
Yeah, Technique Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think it still exists.
Yeah.
That was probably one of his biggest things.
That, I mean, I followed Jeff, I followed Sean, I don't know if you know Sean Nalawanich. You don't know him. He's also very much keeps it simple. I love his philosophy things. My favorite page.
Is that the guy with the long black hair? And he's like,
no, shaved.
No, shaved. Okay.
No, it's not him.
No,
but I'll send you a link.
Like
but Sean,
samurai or something.
Oh no, not that, not him. But Sean, I like Sean's videos. I mean, I can send you his link. I like him as well. Been following him for a few years. The most simple page, and I think you'll agree with me, it's my favorite one, is Squad University.
Oh,
Squad University has helped me with.
Sure, they've got some unbelievable coaches on there. So
seriously,
educated.
From mobility, and I think people forget that mobility is like.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a whole episode.
That's a whole episode.
I feel like we can. That is definitely an episode that people want to listen to, and that's something that I've been coaching a lot of people on at the moment. Even looking to set up a seminar at the gym. On mobility, people that can come in and just come for a class on mobility.
So you do that seminar and we do that podcast episode on mobility. I think that is vital. I think if you guys want to see that, because like Gideon, he's passionate about mobility. I am passionate about it because of learning it from him.
Yeah.
He's implemented it to the point where it's like, people have asked, how does your depth get so amazing with squats? As a religion. Seriously, people ask, how does your movement get so, how do you deadlift like that? How do you bench like that? It starts with mobility.
Yeah.
And I promise you, that's why I'm blessed with the right mentor. And I think, guys, I promise you, comment below, please let me know, because Gideon's ready to talk about mobility. I'm ready to talk about mobility training. It's so important. It's probably up there as one of the most important things or tools to have in order to improve your training as a whole. So
I definitely tried to hold back on it when we were talking about training principles and stuff. Like I was just like, let's hold back, because I know we're going to talk about it.
No, I think a full episode is definitely needed. Maybe even a few episodes.
Yeah, I mean, even on my socials, I've been doing a lot of like Instagram reels on just mobility for sports performance, like hip mobility, ankle mobility, knee mobility, leg mobility, upper body and shoulder mobility. Like,
well, your handle is in the link below. So guys, if you want to see that mobility training, we'll talk about it in future, but definitely follow Gideon. His handle is definitely there, so I definitely recommend check him out. It's something that he's implemented on his fitness journey as videos. Something that I've been chatting to him about for the longest time is you need to have your own sort of platform, because like I'm getting educated. It's something that he struggled with socials, but that's him getting out of his comfort zone. So he's been, how do I say, I highly recommend him one-on-one training. But if you can't access him, he's finally taken that route, and he's actually presented everyone with videos. So follow him on Instagram. His socials is there. So that's definitely mobility training. I think that's the king. That's like the formula, the missing ingredient.
That's the missing ingredient.
But 100%. Like obviously back to it, like periodization. I think that is the thing. Like people focus on, okay, so that's his program, I'm gonna do that. But it comes down to nutrition. When you follow a specific person, they might give you that perfect sort of meal plan, but then they forget that missing ingredient. But they won't do that because that won't help sell that meal plan type of thing. So
exactly. So especially nutrition is definitely something that influencers can manipulate very easily.
Yes.
Like they say, I do intermittent fasting to look like this, and like it's, oh my word, I need to do intermittent fasting.
But that's not it.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
There's so many other factors. So you can go around in circles about that all day with everything.
Another topic, another day.
But
coming back to that, like the deloading and just periodization as a whole, I feel like it is the answer to plateaus, and I feel like especially newbies.
It is the answer to plateaus.
It is the answer to plateaus, and I've learned that from you. Is like you hit, let's say this is my 8-week program, and I want my max is 120 on. We keep using squats for example, because let's keep it at squats. 120 on squats. Okay, what is my next goal? 125 to 130. Here's my 8-week plan. Boom. How do I progress that?
That's it.
And then, like you mentioned, it's you start somewhere. You start if it's at 80%, that is week 1. But when you elevate,
By week 6, you're doing 87
starting
where
by-
you were 80.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
by the time when it comes back to doing 1 rep max testing again, you'll find that your 80% was close to your old like rep max is now like doubled it. So then in your next program, your 80% is just your old rep max, which is crazy. So
which comes down to what I've mentioned before, where I said the goal is to be able to rep out your previous max.
Yeah.
That is, if that's not your goal, then I mean, how are you going to progress?
Exactly.
You don't want to hit the same max every time. That's a plateau.
That's a plateau. That's what means you're not going anywhere.
Yes. No, Gideon, I think, like I said, like I mentioned before, like that's one thing I've learned from you is, I mean, besides the mobility, like I said, we can chat about that forever, but just periodization, just having a set program where you actually just, it's a stats game. It's a stats game. You have to play with stats.
Numbers.
Numbers. You can't go wrong with numbers.
And also, the big thing to also remember is that every day, if you program every day, every little bit, it's not always going to pan out. Like
It isn't.
If one day you plan to do 85% of your 1 rep max on squat for 5 reps, but you only get 4 reps, and then you throw up your hands, oh my word, the program's done, like,
so
I
what
can't
do you do?
it. Then you live with it. You work through it. Okay, so I did 4 reps. Let me adjust. Okay, next week, I'm going to do the first 2 sets on 4 reps, or the first set on maybe get my 5 reps, but then back off and do 4 and 4 and 4 instead of try to do 5, 5 and 5.
Okay.
And then build the reps back up to what you prescribed to be the 3 times 5 reps.
So what you're saying is the next week you just move on.
Move on.
Okay.
Change it a bit. If you were supposed to do 3 times 5, now you do 2 times 5.
Okay.
Or you do 2 times 4 with a 5th one.
Okay.
Something like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, so
Just a
bit
add on that.
just a tweak on your program.
Exactly.
End of the day, it's your program.
Exactly.
It's your goals, your results. Okay.
100%.
I like it. I think let's keep diving onto all these small things, because I think especially an episode like this, and like my biggest aim. Look, my aim with this episode is for everybody, but I specifically aim with this one for the newbies or the young lifters, like especially the young lifters that you and I have seen potential in. Like they're always hitting these plateaus because they always feel like, next week I must always go heavier. I feel so great this week.
The biggest problem is actually not being on proper programs.
As the programs.
That's the thing. It's the guessing games. It's
just going about how you feel.
Yeah, like I'll squat today, I'll deadlift tomorrow, I'll bench.
So that's just lack of discipline.
Lack of discipline. Lack of discipline. You can't get angry at yourself for not progressing if you're not going to put in the time to actually have a proper plan.
Yes. So I think, and I also recommend it to a few young lifters, is to come to you for that programming. Look, like you said, investment goes a long way. Goes a long way, and I think
it really does.
And I think something like this, just listening to us talk about it, I think this is the start. I think you're going to see your phones in a ring, and people are going to be like, "Listen, I want that program." That's where it starts. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need that small platform or that reminder. I think for me, a platform like this is a reminder of small things that you know about, but just to get you going, to do. So I think, Gideon, thank you so much. And I think, like I said, we can continue talking about so many things.
Definitely.
And I think
I'm interested to see what the people have to say.
At home, yes. So
it really helps to guide the conversation, because, we can pick topics and go back and forth.
Yes.
But if there's a general consensus on, like, I want to hear about this, like it could even be about a specific movement or a specific exercise, because we talked previously about exercise selection, and people want to know, okay, like, why must I do this particular exercise opposed to that particular exercise? So I'm very interested to see how it can progress and what the audience wants to see.
Yeah, we can even play around with where let's say the audience want, we're always diving on squats, but maybe there's a specific movement or something, then maybe we can jump to your page on Instagram and you can actually show them
100%.
Yeah, so they're getting a bit best of both worlds. They're getting the talk side and the practical side.
And the demo side.
Yeah. I think that's good.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to see more of Gideon or more Talking Fit with Gideon, please keep hitting that like button. Let's get that subscribers up and hit that notification bell so that you can keep updated. Who knows? Gideon might be on your screen sooner rather than later. So guys, till next time, peace out.